enter. So welcome to Tangle Tuesday on this glorious day of April 13th, 2021. And today I'm going to be working, using a Zentangle tile today. Any paper that you have that's blank and you can make marks on will work for today. Lighter color probably preferred, but you could try it with a gray or tan paper if you want, but see how it works. Just try. And we have a Zentangle pencil, so this is an HB, but any pencil will do that you have. I've got, for ink work, a Micron, Sakura Micron 05, and backup pen, a PN, and second backup pen is an 01. So we're going to be making fairly thick lines today, so if you want a thicker pen, feel free to do that. I'm going to adjust, oops, not that, wrong way. I'm going to look at my exposure here. It's pretty bright outside. And I'm just going to do that. So let me know if anytime you can't see it, too light, too dark, or whatever, because I can adjust it, and I can also adjust the light coming into the room. I have the technology. All right, just take a moment to sit comfortably in your chair or stool or whatever you're on to really feel your hips into the chair. And take some deep breaths, just let it out. I'm watching a swallow out on the window, outside my window, looping around and catching bugs. And such marvelous freedom. So if you can, to look away from the computer for a while and look at something else while you're taking deep breaths, that really helps to calm ourselves down. So with that, we're going to start with our pencil. And this is going to be a fun class with a little bit of art history thrown in. And just as usual, we're going to start with the 4 dots of Zentangle, I call them, on each corner, wherever you feel comfortable, put them. Feels good to you. You're going to make a little border around the edge. Whoops, things are not moving very well. They're kind of not sliding. Okay. And I've muted everybody. And if you have a question, just pop in and say hi and ask a question, or you can put it on the chat. All right. So I'm going to join the lines now, make the lines to connect the dots I meant. And if you want to do it fairly straight like I am, you can do that. Or again, I'm using my pencil. Or if you want to make them loopy or zigzaggy, whichever way you'd like, go right ahead. So like I'm aiming for straight, but it's not exactly straight, but that's okay. That's all right. So today, what came into my awareness was the Tangle by Cheryl Moot. If you know Cheryl, she's pretty popular with her Zentangle art and her calligraphy and her book arts. She's from Toronto, Ontario in Canada, and she came up with this beautiful tangle called Morrisseau. And Morrisseau is named after an Indigenous Canadian artist, self-taught, named Norval Morrisseau. He died in 2007, I believe. But in the 60s and 70s, he was very popular. And his art continues. It's spelled Norval, N-O-R-V-A-L, and then Morrisseau, Morrisseau. And
Thank you.
he was self-taught artist, and it's interesting to read his story and how he grew up and what he did and who came along to help him, which is really neat in his life. So we're going to not do that, but we're going to utilize that. And we're going to do something in the style of that tangle, but a little different. I'm just going to move my camera so it's closer to me and I don't have to lean out so far. So with your pencil, we're going to make branches. And I'm going to have mine coming up a little bit from the bottom. That's about a ½ inch from the bottom. And the first one's going to come here, and I'm going to end it before it reaches the other line. And then we're going to do another one this way and some branches off that way. So imagine, if you will, you're laying on the ground or you're crouched on the ground and you're looking at some bushes. So you're looking at them from ground level. So this is what you're aiming for. Okay, and I'm going to switch to my pen, and I've got this Micron 05 because it's quite thick. And if you've got whatever you have and whatever color you have will work, will make it work. So if you notice from this sample, the different shapes, so there's some sort of triangles, some sort of rectangles, some sort of circles here and there. So, but they're kind of got a flat side to them. So this is what we're looking for. I'm going to start with some shapes on the bottom of the base here. And so sort of like that. And I'm going to go around again because these are quite dark. So you want a good heavy line around the shape. And then I'm going to connect it with a heavy line. It's almost like there's a little triangle at each end. You can see that. Let me zoom that in like that, just a nice little heavy line. And do another shape, and I'm going to do this sort of triangle-ish roundish shape. I don't know how to say that. How do you explain? It's not really a triangle. It's not really a circle. A rounded triangle, maybe. And I'll do another one here. Again, I'm doing this heavy line connecting. And this sort of rounded shape here. And if you want to go over your pencil line and just continue that shape, go right ahead. And then we're going to connect these two. So it reminds me, when I look at this, it reminds me of those wooden toys that we had. I don't know if they make them anymore, and they were circular and they have holes drilled into the edges. And
Tinker
then
toys.
Tinker Toys. Thank you so much. Tinker Toys. Yes. Very good. Good memory. Tinker Toys, when I see this, I think, oh, these are like Tinker Toys. So this part is more like what Cheryl had invented. This bottom part. So we'll just do, I'm going to do sort of like that shape. And remember to be like melted chocolate. So loosen the grip of your pen. Check your shoulders. Are they riding up? Can they come down a little bit like melted chocolate? And then inside you can do these little symbols like that. Maybe one in the center here, and then some thick lines coming out.
So Loretta, a quick question. So I thought you said we're not going to be doing Morrisseau tangle.
We are doing, well, okay.
We are,
Not the
it
way,
looks like we are.
we are absolutely right. And you're absolutely right. We are using Morrisseau on the bottom. I should have been more clarified. Clear. I should have been more clear about that.
You're fine.
I changed my mind. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Thank
you. I was just like, am I doing it right? So, okay, no worries.
Anyway,
thank you.
Because I had started thinking I was going to do what I did yesterday, which is sort of similar, but not really. And then I thought, no, I could do the, Cheryl's Morrisseau on the bottom here. So you caught me being inventive on the fly, which is kind of funny. Okay. And then I've got I'm going to divide this space up here with some thick line. I just love, I don't know, I love Indigenous art. And I really love thick, dark lines that they put around things, and I just love it. So when I saw this, I knew I had to do it. Like, oh yeah. So you'll definitely want to go to Google Images and look at his art, because it is beautiful and arresting, quite powerful, very powerful. He became a shaman in his later years, and he used his knowledge of shamanism to integrate into his art, and also many of the stories that he grew up with and legends. Okay, so it kind of looks like a bug, but so you can add these little sort of tiny berries shapes. All right, so I'm happy with that. That's sort of the base. If you want to add more, you can add more. You want to put tangles in the center of these orbish triangle rectangular shapes, you can certainly do that. I invite you to do that. So I'm going to come up here and do this first stem. Making it quite thick. And at the top, I'm going to start at the top here and do this. I'm going to have it come right over my pencil line and do this kind of poke root kind of shape. And again, I'm going to go thick over top of that edge, really restate those lines, really give them weight. And even maybe some angularness here if you want some edginess. And then coming off, I'm going to do another little berry coming up here. Same deal over here. Okay, and then we're going to do some shapes coming off. It's going to go right around the end of that line. Again, I'm just doing really dark. And I'm going to fill this little space in there, right there. And another. So if you study Indigenous art, these forms, they call them OVoids. You see them especially in West Coast Indigenous art, sort of ovals, sort of not, but ovoid shape. I was really lucky in my life. Several years ago, we were visiting the Museum of Civilization in Ottawa. And at that time, I was a weaver. I was training to be a master weaver. And our house was full of yarn and fluff. And while we were at the museum, my husband bought me this beautiful book called Raven's Tail Weaving by Cheryl Samuel. And I just, devoured it. I love that book. And then I read an article about her in a hand weaving magazine that come out, and it talked about her living. This is one of those serendipitous things, that she lived on the banks of the Pembina River in Alberta. And my mother grew up on the banks of the Pembina River in Alberta. And she was offering the Chilkat and Raven's Tail weaving style classes, workshops. So I contacted her right away and I said, I'm really interested in this class. And by the way, my mother grew up on the banks of the Pembina River on a farm. And immediately I got an answer from her, and she said, my father-in-law really wants to know who your mother is. So I told him, well, it turned out they lived across the river from each other. So her father-in-law, Dick, and my mother were teenagers together and played together, played baseball, and the families were really quite close. And it was really one of those just amazing experiences to be able to go back there that summer and take classes from, or instruction from Cheryl, and at the same time be where my mother had grown up. I'd only been there one other time before with my parents, and learn from Cheryl and see, all sorts of things. But one evening, they hosted a big barbecue, and they invited all my mother's classmates from, elementary school and high school that still were living. And we had just had great time, just reminiscing about old times. And it was really, it was a once in a lifetime experience. And out of that, I gained a wonderful friend in Cheryl, who I'm still in contact with. She lives in Victoria now. And she was very, very supportive of my art. So we're going to do another offshoot here, the branch. I didn't follow the lines. Oh, well. I didn't follow my pencil line, but that's part of the joy right there. So it's going to make that there. And this one, we're going to do this sort of at the top, ovoid type design. And I'm going to split it with a thick line here. And then do like petals, petal shapes around it. Like I said, inside here, you could do all sorts of things. You could do tipple in there, little lines, all sorts of possibilities here. You don't have to color them in if you don't want to, or do exactly what I'm doing. You can add your own dance to it, your own rhythm. So you've got this little cute thing, and then I've got some little branchlets. Little branchlets. It's my new word for small branches. Okay, I'm going to have to do this one coming off there. I'd be interested to know, Leanne, that Cheryl taught for many years native weaving of Chilkat and Raven's tail weaving at the University of Alaska. And she actually revived it. So it had been a lost art. And she was studying weaving, just regular type weaving, but she wanted to know how to weave a perfect circle. And so she got a grant from the Canada Council to travel around the world to different museums where they held these Chilkat and Raven's tail ceremonial blankets in their collections so that she could study what they had done, how they were done. Because there was no, at that time, this would be like 1970s, there was nobody that did it that was still alive. So she learned, and then once she learned, then because she was a teacher by training, school teacher, she went and taught it. Eventually, I'm just going to put these in here, with all this in here, just for fun. Eventually, teaching it at the university and reviving it and teaching so many people that had lost that knowledge. Got some in and out here. A little bit of interest. And it bugs me down here that this is blank. I don't know why. So I'm going to just do a little branch off here. Just go with your gut. When you look at something, you go, it feels funny, it's out of balance, it needs a this, it needs a that's better. Because this is a lot. So just, there's a lot of activity over here, a lot of interest, and same with here, but there was nothing over here. So I needed to sort of balance it off. So if this is all you want to do, and it's beautiful the way it is, then you might call this done. But I'm going to keep going and add some color because you know I love color. And I'm going to also put my border in here. I'm just going to go over under here, just weaving my border in and out. Now I went over the lines here, but I think I'm going to leave this just as it is and follow these lines here. And follow this line there. Oh God. I'll give you a minute or two to catch up there. Okay, so let's add some color. My favorite part. All right, well, it's all good, but color really is up there for me. So today, for coloring, I've got Tombow markers. They're a brush pen, so it's brush on one end and a bullet tip on the other. And the key, I find, for me, now not everybody has this problem, I'm sure, but is to ahead of time pick my colors, because if I don't, I can put too many colors out there. So today I'm just working with this light blue, this super limey green, turquoise, and this magenta, like bright magenta. And then also I have got moonlight jelly rolls to glow in the dark. So this is a neon orange, really green, a darkish blue, and a neon pink. But you could certainly use colored pencils. You could just shade it if you just want to use pencil and shading it, beautiful as it is. So let's do a little shading to show you on this one. I had prepared before just to give you an idea. And my tortillon, where is it? It's hanging around the desk somewhere. It just likes to, they like to float, tortillons. They do. They like to float around, get lost, wind up in the dog's mouth. They really like that. I could see one. I'm going to grab it. It's on the bottom of my pencil pile. see, I have a few pencils. Okay, and so on this one, just to give you an example, what you can do, you can just shade one, and just like you were doing rocks, maybe just shade one side, and take your torchon and spread it out a little bit, spread the graphite. So you've got this beautiful shape. You could do around the whole edge. So that the center is bright. Or you could just do the center, just very lightly. So it looks like looking down into a little divot. So lots of options there. If you just want to shade, and if you want to shade along one side of these shapes here, these lines, or shade around the edges there. Oops. Like that. Pretty, very pretty. You could do that with colored pencil as well. Maybe just one color and make gems out of each one of them. Oh, fun. So let's get back to what we're doing, our piece. And if you want to, you can take a kneaded eraser. Yes, I'm going to take an eraser to Zentangle tile. But I'm just going to go in and just make it a kneaded eraser if you haven't used one. They get dirty, but you can just keep folding them over and kneading them like you would bread. And this reminds me of silly putty, when you used to take silly putty and put it on the comics, the colored comics, and it would pick up and then come down. I'm just going to go over this, but if you want to leave your pencil lines, go ahead. Just slightly go over it. The reason I don't use another kind of eraser is other erasers tend to take the little hairs off the top of the paper. They're quite tough on paper, so I use a kneaded eraser. It's quite gentle with paper. Okay, so let's look at some color here. I'm going to start with this light blue. I like to start with sort of a more muted tones and then work up to other colors. So let's go right in here. Got my brush pen. I'm just going to leave a little white there. Let me just put that in for you. Whoops, so you can see a little white. I left a little white. If you want, you don't have to. Like that. Let me zoom back out again. And then I'm going to repeat this color somewhere else. Let me put it over here. I like to repeat the color in one or two places to give it a harmonious feel. I'm going to move up to this turquoise and do my top sort of leaf pattern right there. And again, I'm going to leave a little bit of white. Come back down here with this. So Morrisseau, his use of color was incredible. And if you look at his work and just see how beautiful and colorful it was, is still around. It's quite something. Look at all the colors. I've got this wild green. I sometimes call this scary green because it is kind of scary. And I want to use that over here. Oops, this seems really dirty. Oh, you know what? This isn't the green I thought it was going to be, but I'm going to keep going with it. I thought it was a really bright green, but I think I had the wrong cap on this pen. But that's all right. It's bright enough. We're going with it. We're just going to do it. Take this purple. This is really bright. This magenta. Really bright. Wow. These little berries here. And then anchor this down here with this magenta. I'm not going to do this one. I'm going to leave that one right there blank. Just the way it is. I'm going to go in with my jelly rolls. And we won't do that. Got this pink. I like to add this orange. I know this is going to be wild, but I'm going to put this orange right here. Whoops. Let me test it. It's a little bit slow to start. And the key with these is just apply very light pressure. It's like you're tickling the paper. If you put too much pressure on them, they will not flow. They're very, very, very picky. They like things just the way they like things. There. And one coming off here. And I've got this blue. Oops. So blue is kind of a darkish blue. And what about orange? Let's go with these pink. This is a really accenty pink. So pretty simple. Oh, I made a mistake there. I got my hand in the ink. Okay, what are we going to do? Well, we could cry. Crying, you know, sometimes works, but we're going to go with it. I think we'll just add some more berries here. Just make it part of the whole thing and make a cluster of berries to incorporate that. Then Tangle is fantastic for teaching you how to take what life gives us and make it into something else, turn it into the good. But in a small and gentle way. So I'm going to add some of these blueberries up here.
Loretta, I had a quick question for you.
Okay.
So it looks like you just made a Bronx cheer.
I did.
Do you use that often, or have you found maybe some other types of tangles would be kind of like things to cover up
Similar?
the oopsies?
Yeah, there is some beautiful things you can do besides the Bronx cheer, which is similar to that blackberry, raspberry type thing. You can, utilize a larger berry shape like a blueberry and cover things up. I also like to use my gold pen. So when I have tried everything, and sometimes I'll just black out that area. I'll take my black pen, and if it's just a small bit, I'll just black it out and make it, thick line or something like that. But this pen is for mistakes that none of those things cover. So it's a Deco Color liquid gold extra fine tip pen. It's smelly, okay? If you want to make sure it's well ventilated where you use it, so I usually open the window and I just dab it here and there, and it transforms the ugly into something else, the ugly duckling into a beautiful swan. It really is my last ditch effort. So
Is that also waterproof?
is it waterproof? Let's see what it says, if I can read it. It's made
I
by
just want to ask before I buy yet another pen.
Yeah, yet another pen? I don't know. Is it waterproof? It does not say it is. Have I used it water over top of it? No, I have not. But that's a good thing to experiment. I can experiment and let you know.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
Okay. But anyway, so this is my go-to, cover it all up. In fact, okay, I'll show you what happened here. So I was in Rami Mark's class, the elephant one, and I didn't like what I did. See under the gold? I didn't like it at all. So I took my gold pen, and I think I did black or something in there, and I just covered it up. Presto magico, gone. And now it's blingy. Yay! So yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop recording and then we can talk about what we did. All right.